Rhonda. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing this evening? It's so or I guess it's daytime for you, evening for
Yes.
me. What a wonderful way to end my day, and that is reaching across the globe. I'm so excited to talk to you today, and thank you for having me today.
No, likewise, I am excited to have you on, and this is gonna be an incredible way to start my day as well because it's 8 a.m. here in Malaysia. So, Rhonda, I'd like to read a bit of introduction. But first, I'd like to formally introduce myself. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. First off, I'd like to say thank you very much for saying yes to be interviewed today. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our listeners, and then we can get right into the nitty gritty of things.
Okay, perfect.
So, hello everyone. We have Rhonda Parker Taylor here with us. Rhonda is an American writer, entrepreneur, and academic researcher. Now, her background. After completing a fashion merchandising program at College in Arlington, Texas, Rhonda returned to Indiana, where she eventually found her passion for writing. Debut novel Crossroads, a suspenseful masterpiece, was released in February 2023, endorsed by best-selling author J.J. Hubbard, I hope
Mm-hmm.
correctly, I'm pronouncing that right, and Golden Globe-nominated actress Mariel Hemingway. The novel has been hailed as a captivating crime thriller that keeps readers intrigued from start to finish. Rhonda's diverse writing spans from educational works to fiction, and she is well known for her research on emotional intelligence. Her academic achievements extend to being a prominent leader presented at the UN Global Compact Committee. Beyond her writing, Rhonda has an extensive background in teaching and training, with a decade of experience in business, management, and leadership education. Wow, wow, wow. Welcome, Rhonda, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I feel blessed to be here, and I can't wait to bring your audience right along with us and talk about how self talk really creates barriers and opportunities if we choose to use it
Mm,
correctly.
You started off 1000% correctly. Okay, Rhonda. First off, I'd like to ask you. I like my guests to take a trip down memory lane. Can you
Mm.
share with us first? What was it like growing up as a Rhonda Parker Taylor?
Well, I was a small town girl. I'm from the Midwest, which is the middle of the United States for those that haven't really studied a lot of geography. It's 2 hours south of Chicago, and it's right in the middle of the United States. It's where the Indy 500 is. So we're known for our sports and our manufacturing, because a lot um, of our employment early on was in manufacturing, steel manufacturing, cars. We're right there with Michigan, Ohio, Illinois. So we're right there in the center. So what it was like for us is we were taught at a very young age that work was your identity.
I think that's not across the globe.
Yes, and so when you look at that and you really try to pour yourself into whatever you think it's going to be when you're young, and your fantasies might say, "Oh, I'm going to be in Hollywood, or I might be in New York." But what I found is I would go someplace else for school, and then I'd be running right back home. And then I'd run to another state for school. And then I'd be running right back home because it was home to me. The slower pace, the everybody knows your name, everybody's, watching each other's kids. So for me, growing up as Rhonda, the child, was about community. And it was about how do we transform to what we think our purpose is. So many of us get that wrong at first, and we have to evaluate what our life is going to be after we start those primary years.
You hit some of the points there right. The nail in the head. I love it. Okay. Now, Your novel,
Mhm.
Crossroads, explores themes of resilience and life's pivotal choices. Can you share with us a personal moment when you had to confront self doubt and choose a path towards self worth and acceptance?
Oh, I would say almost every day of my life when you think about it. Because when I was younger, I wasn't considered academically strong. And so I would constantly had that negative connotation of, oh, she's not a good student. Maybe she shouldn't go to college. Maybe, maybe she should get married. And, all these connotations that and stereotypes that they put on women. And then I got a wonderful female mentor in my junior year of my high school that allowed me to grow and learn how to write and pass tests and do all the things that I needed to do to thrive. And so then I ended up getting my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctorate. But had it not been for a female mentor teacher, I would never have done it. And so in Crossroads, what I try to show people is that we all come to a crossroads at some point in our life. Yes, it's a crime thriller. It's a jury trial, the death of a 15-year-old girl, but it also shows how each one of the characters has a crossroads in their life, and their decision based on that crossroads determines their outcome. Doesn't matter whether it was the main character, Paris Pennington, who is an IU grad, Indiana University graduate, and she's in business and finance, or whether it's the defendant or the co-defendant. They all hit this crossroads and they're all in a room together to try to resolve this case, the judge, the jury, everybody, and they have to make a decision, but they're also reflecting at that time and in a self discovery kind of way. What does this day mean to me?
Okay, I can resonate with that crossroads because I too, I think so. A couple of months back, I was let go from my 9 to 5, and that was sort of like a decision, a big decision of my life to whether stay in the capital of Malaysia, which is Kuala Lumpur, and now I'm right back to where I was born and raised. It's called Sandakan. It's on the east coast of Malaysia. So, and mind you, I've been living in Kuala Lumpur for 15 years of my life, and that's where I pursued my tertiary education, and I worked there, climbed the corporate ladder, and through my own journey of trauma just before COVID, and then COVID happened. I had a career burnout, and so I was faced with this choice whether I want to continue on with what I've known before or pursue what I love. That is that is talking, speaking, just like this, and also trying to do something that would be more aligned to what I find joy in, besides just pursuing the monetary pursuits in life or
Mm-hmm.
status or power. So right now, I think it's been half a year that I've been on my journey, started my own practice as an RTT hypnotherapist and a podcaster just a little over a year. And you're on the road, you're on the right path, but you can't help but to think that, am I really, is this really correct for me?
Right, exactly. And one of the reasons why Mariel Hemingway picked Crossroads
Mm-hmm.
to put in her book club was because we all hit a crossroads at some point in our life. And what happens is we have a choice. And as she said at the end of her YouTube video, even chocolate has an expiration date. And so think about that. As we go through life, we're told very young what people think we should be doing. Then we have our own ideas and conflicts with that, but then we typically follow that path because it's what they say we're good at, it's what's easy for us to get into the path. But then sometimes that journey that's more resistant is the one that we're intended to be, but we may not quite be ready for it. I had a similar crossroads. I was working in education and I was a campus director for a college. And then one day my world changed by life hitting. You know, you had the pandemic and things going on that direction. And for me, mine was that my son was shot and killed at a workplace accident. And I didn't know if I could go back to that same age group and work with that same age group again. So what I found that's wonderful about transformation, whether it's our own transformation because we're making a choice, a life choice, or is it because we have to grow, or is it because life hit and we're forced into a vulnerable situation? It doesn't matter, it's all the same. But if you can name it and claim it, what it is that you're wanting for your life, and you said you wanted to pursue something better than just financial gain. How about the 13 dimensions of self? You know, let's say, your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual connections, your social connections, your financial health. You know, you have all of these aspects of your life. And if you can try to transform yourself during these periods, then you can actually find your purpose. Sometimes you can say it's your inner voice talking. You can say that's shaping your outer world. But see, you've got to be careful. What if that inner voice is negative? You can't
Mm-hmm.
do this. You
Mm-hmm.
won't do this. My sister, before Crossroads came out, said, why haven't you done anything with your novels? She knew I'd been writing for years. And I'm like, well, I've got this project, I've got this client, I have this. She said, no, because if it was for them, it would already be out the door.
Exactly.
And she was right. She says, you're afraid to make yourself vulnerable to the world and follow that pursuit that, is who you really authentically are. So you're talking about the podcasting space and how wonderful that, you want to be able to speak and be a spokesperson and have a message. That means you have to address a topic. And in your case, guess what? It's self-talk, right? That
Yeah.
self-talk pulls you back. It's the enemy in progress. You don't
Woo.
even have to have a real enemy. It's you.
Yeah.
It's your own brain saying, wait a minute, don't do this. Yes, do that. No, don't do this. Do that. And then the power that you get with the mind, changing those negatives to positive, is miraculous. She'll change everything in your life.
I feel like I want to give you a hug right now. That was what I needed.
Good, good, good. Well, let's keep it going then.
Okay, Rhonda. In your Journey to Life Balance workbook, you guide readers towards balancing their inner and outer lives. How do you think balance plays a role in building self-worth, especially when navigating life's inevitable setbacks?
Hi, I'm Nick Nieras, your host of the Your Wordless podcast. Now, if these real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
Well, let's take a look at the cover. How's that? That might get everybody an idea. This is everybody
That's
trying to
Libra.
That is everybody trying to balance all the things, all the talks, all the things in your life. The very first thing I say in my workbook is let's sit down and let's create the mission and the vision. If tomorrow you woke up and everything was exactly the way you wanted it to be, what would it look like? And then I say, go shopping for it, go on the internet, pick the house, and create yourself that vision board. What does your dress look like? What does your outfit look like? What does your dog look like? Your kids, everything. Put it on there. And then say, okay, what do I have to do to get there? And then if you look at each one of the dimensions, I'll say, okay, what do you like to do? Let's say, what brings you joy? And let's say you say it's a puzzle. You love to sit down and work on puzzles, or a game on your phone, and that's your relaxed time, or, you like to cook, or whatever it might be. I don't care what it is. Just put it down. And then we look and say, well, how many of those are you actually doing? Because a lot of times the things that bring us joy, we've not done since we were a child, or we haven't done for 2 or 3, 4, 5 months. And so how can you say that you're going to have fulfillment if you're not doing the things that you're enjoying? So you can say you're balanced. A lot of times I'm 30% home, 30% work, 30% relax, okay? But what are you doing in those hours that you're there? Because there's really 13 dimensions. So for me, it's intentionality. How are you going to get your time that you're connected with the earth? It might be as small as opening up the blinds and taking in the sunshine or the snow or the rain, or or the critter that's scurrying across the yard or the alley or whatever it might be, and just taking it in and bringing it to your soul. Or it might be more like, for me, who sits a lot with occupational hazards, where I take the Veridesk and say, stand up and work standing, because your back can't take it anymore. Your physical health is deteriorating because you're sitting all the time. There's you can say, okay, it's that season orange juice, to get the vitamin C in. How are you working in the things that bring all the pieces together? How are you calling your great aunt? When you don't get to talk to her, but she's homebound and you're hours away. You schedule them in and you create a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan for yourself and all your dimensions. Then it becomes easy to navigate because it's not so overwhelming.
Break it, break them down into chunks
Yes.
and then execute them one step at a time. I mean, this came at an apt timing because I was just telling my sister now that I'm back home, and she has this blank whiteboard. So I had a blank whiteboard too that I brought from my home back in Kuala Lumpur here, and it says, "Go big or go home." And I used to write or paste some of the old vision that I had, but then I wanted to revamp it because I was in the States back in September. So I got this really beautiful photo of the skyline of Lower Manhattan, and I'm gonna make it my reality. I'm gonna relocate. So I was just putting it there, then go big or go home. So it's that
Well, you know what
skyline
they
of.
say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
Thank you, Rhonda. You just Okay, that's what I need. Thank you. Because it can be right now it's no longer 9 to 5 for me, right? So it's just I'm back with family, yes. But most of my friends they are not here with me and the community, and when you've grown apart from your friends and they've already had their own lives, and it can be lonely at times. Let me
Mm-hmm.
put it this way. And if you're working, especially remotely, and this is why I love getting on in front of the camera, because I get to talk to people across the globe. And but you cannot help, right? You have had that. I don't know if you have had that those times.
Well,
And I'm pretty sure
definitely.
community is very big for you as well.
You know, I think everybody wants that connection, not only with your present people in your lives, but past and networking for growth. All of those are all part of who we are as human beings. You wouldn't be a human if you didn't desire that connection. And for me, that's where that intentionality comes into play. I have a routine that I do, and some people might say, well, that brings the spontaneity out on things. But I have a routine of calling my sister daily, making sure that I text my brother, and you learn their communication and how they're willing or
Their
able to
cues.
communicate, and I fuse it in. There was a point in time, even for my own father, it was an email.
What's wrong with the physical?
Once a week, I would email him with what was going on in my life and how I was doing. And he sometimes would respond, sometimes he wouldn't. He wasn't a computer person, but it allowed me to start bridging some of the stress because we were at that stress point in our relationship where we didn't argue. He used to always say, you need to be a lawyer. And I said, no, because we'd be in the judge's chamber every day arguing with people just like you. And
Yes.
and that was our relationship, that tension. But
The
you know what?
tension.
It comes back to real stories begin with those connections, and those stories also our resilience with the networking. I have some friends that I've known since I was 2 years old.
Mhm.
And then I have some that are brand new, and the ones that I've known, for a long time. We call ourselves the Breakfast Club because we were always in detention together. But it's trying to find the struggle, but also find the strength in what we want to do. If you have no tension and you have no push, you're not burning out, you're rusting out.
And do you think we need to burn out? Like, I mean, burned out
No,
is a
but I think you
negative
need.
connotation.
No, I don't think we need confrontation, but tension isn't always confrontation. What a tension is also things as an emotion, as desire, passion. It's wanting to do something, creating synergy. So sometimes tension is what we're looking for. We are looking for a path that we feel revived in and not dead.
Yeah.
When you work, like I've worked in corporate America, I've worked in education, and there were times of real glory, and usually that was when you were working on a project that meant something, right? And
Yes.
then when you're working as an entrepreneur or on your own, you have to create that same synergy every day. Are you up at 5 o'clock in the morning doing what you love to do, or the
Right.
things that you need to do, but you have a client maybe that you need to work, with.
Yeah.
So you have to find the strength in the story that you're trying to create. And in doing that, celebrate your own human spirit. Because are you a human doing? Or are you a human being? A spirit has connections. A spirit has to pull one story out at a time and let the story be told. And that brings the inclusiveness to a good team, too.
What a great reminder. Thank you for that, Rhonda. I need
You
it.
follow your passion. Yeah. And my dad always said, because he was an entrepreneur, if it's meant to be, it's up to you. Don't rely on others. Don't try to delegate to others. Now, you do that from a management standpoint, but your dream, your passion, what you are intended to do, your God given gift, is up to you to make sure it happens. Now, you do hire teams and you do different things to delegate, but what I'm talking about is the core. Some of the mistakes I made early in my careers, and different things, is I would want the team to automatically come with me and push me through, and we would just do it together. Well, guess what? It doesn't work like that. You have to believe in your own vision first. And if you have that vision created, you're not going to ask your friend, hey, would you mind making these calls for me or doing this social media for me? Because you'll have the pieces in place already to be able to do it without having to pull those people in when they have their own business to do.
That was God speaking right through you to me. Thank you, Rhonda. I love it. Thank you so much. Existentialism often asks us to define our own purpose. That flows nicely into this next question. What insights have you gained about finding meaning and purpose that you think would resonate with others struggling to discover their self worth?
The first thing is don't let people dim your light. So many times you may put an idea out there, or you may have something that you're really connected to doing, and others will take that joy out of it. Or, as a woman, sometimes don't wear makeup, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. And when you let someone dim your light, doesn't mean that they don't have a right to say what they want to say or give their opinion, because there may be valid opinion there. But always know that you have the ability to navigate your own purpose. So many times, maybe I would have gotten to a step faster had I not allowed another person's image of me pull me back.
What coaching session? I love it. A mini coaching session. Never let anybody dim your light. Thank you. You've written and spoken about the importance of inner strength in times of loss. How do you believe adversity shapes our self concept? And how can listeners use life's hardships as stepping stones to self acceptance?
Oh my goodness, that's a deep one all the way around the board. First of all, anybody out there that's listening, that's going through any kind of adversity, I feel your pain, because life is just not easy, no matter where you are in the nation, the world, in your life, in your family, whatever may be going on. It could be illness in your family, it could be your body's ill yourself, or it could be deaths, it could be financial losses, it could be all of the above, and you just don't know what to do. And unfortunately, life is complex. So we have a choice. I've hit many of those adversities in my life, from victimization to a loss of a son, through violence, through the loss of parents, both to one to breast cancer, one to emphysema. I'm very seasoned as an individual. But what I can tell those out there that are really in pain, it will get easier. It may never always go away, because you'll always feel something. And if you don't feel something, then be fearful, because that pain is important, because it's also your resilience. You want to turn that pain into your new mission and passion. When you do that, and it takes a second, because you have to name and claim the pain first and accept it. Once you accept whatever the pain is, whatever the adversity is that's hit, whether it's man-made or life-made or you're self-made, and sometimes you might have made a bad decision, whatever it might be, then know that you can only be resilient when you accept it and realize that you have to put one foot in front of the other. Now, I was childlike when every time I would go through a traumatic thing, I name it and I claim it, and then I start singing Christmas songs of like, put one foot in front of the other. But then I was on a podcast recently, and someone said, well, that's very similar to the Japanese phrase that the longest journey is shorter with the first step. So it is just about taking that first step. And sometimes you do have to fake, that you're okay if it's a grief. You do have to find professionals sometimes to lean on. You have the ability to tell your story, but when you do that, when you tell your own story with authenticity, it helps you grow.
I think you're the answer to some of the things that I've been holding back in terms of what I needed to do now that I've made some big decisions in my life. And I've been putting off some calls, which I need to make.
Always make
in
those
order.
calls. When you're putting
Yeah,
them off, it's because you don't want the no. You're afraid to be vulnerable. But then take 10 more
exactly.
until you get a yes.
Rhonda, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna do after the interview. I'm gonna write down all the people that I need to give a call to, and then schedule a call with them because they're projects that I have like waiting to be birthed into reality. Like I've got so many ideas, but sometimes you can't help but feel helpless because of the maybe current circumstances that you're in. And then you got to do those things, whatever that you said, it resonated with me to the core of my being. But sometimes you just feel like, oh, you turn around, I'm like, but they don't have the same vision as I do because they're not me. That God did not give that vision to them. God gave that vision to me. So it is my duty to fulfill them, or else I'll be betraying the highest version of myself.
And just and give yourself grace, because it takes time. Take those little chunks, break them down. I have usually have an accountability person in every aspect of my life. It could be my husband, it could be my sister. I have author friends that are my accountability partners. That every time you try to put something out there, that to bring your book to the next level, it takes work. It takes, how many bookstores will you can you get your book in, and those calls, and that putting a plan together, putting your one page together for podcasting, that's for your news network, and making announcements and making the buzz out there. It takes time. But when you actually are grounded in certainty of the steps versus uncertainty, then you have a pathway to follow. It doesn't matter if today you got 10 no's, because eventually you're going to get 10 yeses. I can tell everybody out there that the author space is one of the hardest spaces in business I've ever been in. I've been in finance, I've been in manufacturing, I've been in education now, and training and development and consulting. But the author space requires them to trust that you're going to do everything as an author you say you're going to do. This year, finally, not only did I get the endorsement of Mariel Hemingway, but through Mindster Media, but I was able to do something to break in to the big blockbuster stores of Barnes and Noble. So I have, it's not
Congratulations.
all of them, but it's a start.
Yeah, it's a start.
I can say that there's 4 book signings in the books for the holidays.
No,
And so,
congratulations.
but everybody that's out there that's an author knows that's a hard feat to get into if you're not one of the large authorships. So the thing to do is to be persistent, be professional, make sure you bring your best game, be your best person, and be authentic. People like authenticity, and they'll believe in you if you believe in yourself. And that's where that negative versus positive self-talk is important. It may take you 2 years, but it is worth it.
Virtual hug.
All right, let's do it.
If you could give one piece of advice to listeners who feel lost in self doubt or feel they lack purpose, what would you suggest as a first step towards self discovery and embracing their true worth?
Becoming a podcast host was a natural extension of my second act. And after spending 15 years in the corporate world, I've transitioned to helping individuals overcome challenges like navigating tough relationships, career burnout, and aligning their mission with their soul's calling. By certifying as an RTT hypnotherapist and a lifestyle coach, I've made it my mission to empower people to recreate the life they deserve and building a supportive community through my podcast. Now, let me ask, are you facing challenges like struggling to reprogram your mind to attract wealth, weight issues that feel like a constant yo yo, insomnia or restless nights from daily worries, or just a lack of confidence in public speaking? If the answer is yes, visit www.thenicknyerasholisticlifestyle.com and grab a free hypnosis audio of these common struggles. It's a sneak peek into how my coaching works. Are you feeling shy? Don't be, because I'm as real as it gets. Let's connect on Instagram and LinkedIn and start your transformation today.
First, make every day great. If you don't make every day great, you have your list, you have your to-do list, and it could either be something that you just don't want to do. You can complain about it. Nobody cares. Nobody's giving me a break. Nobody's helping. You can come up with everything that you want to say negative. But if you go in there with joy and make every day great, open your blinds, look at the critters running around, and then go get your breakfast, your coffee, say, today's we're going to have a good day. And even if you got the 10 no's that day, you know you got through your list. What you did is you set those seeds because now they're watching. Follow it up with an email. Do what you need to do to make sure that each person sees the best version of you. And if you make every day great day, it's contagious. That's one of the things that my father would always say to us as children is make every day great. Because if you don't know what tomorrow brings. You just don't. Why sit in the negative when you can sit in the positive of what is good?
Thank you. What are you working on currently, Rhonda?
Orange juice. Okay, so what I have, I have Crossroads out, and I've got a book tour going on right now, Barnes and Noble, Indiana. I also have the workbook coming out after the holidays, and then I have another fiction coming out in 2025, and I'm still doing my consulting and my academic research as my primary life balance in the career aspects. For me personally, my personal goals is one, I want to redo my bathroom. Oh my goodness, it's a mess. It needs some work. I'm in an older house and it needs some work. And I am going to enjoy my husband and my dogs and do a little bit of traveling. And just the Christmas time is puzzle time. I love puzzles. So I will be doing that and getting a massage once a week.
Yay! Let's get this done. Okay. Now, Rhonda, we're going to pivot to a self-worth question because my podcast talks
Right.
about self-worth. So the question for you, in the age of social media, comparisons can erode our self-worth. How do you stay grounded and maintain a positive self-image amidst the noise?
Well, the first thing is you have to meditate and be mindful. What is your true purpose? If you don't know your own true purpose, then it's very easy to get sucked into everybody else's perfect life. Realize most people don't put their garbage on social media. But if that doesn't work and you can't seem to kind of get that synergy within yourself, go to Proverbs. Proverbs is, even though it's a biblical book in the Bible, it's almost every religion believes in Proverbs as a religious book. But it says, anger is cruel, fury is overwhelming, but who can stand before jealousy? Envy makes the bones rot. And when you think about that, when you're looking at someone else's social media or looking at commercials or looking at the neighbor and thinking that everything's so perfect over there, or your family members because they've got everything going right now, and you allow envy into the picture, you are literally deteriorating. That's not what I said. That's what Proverbs said. Your own bones, like a cancer, and you're taking away the joy of your own life. Because what you have done is you've discounted your feelings of self-worth. And to me, what that's like is, I don't know if you have a Goodwill store in Malaysia, but Goodwill here is where everybody donates, or Salvation Army or Red Cross, and you donate all your hand-me-downs and stuff, and people go and they pick the things that they can afford for their loved ones or for themselves. And for me, when you start letting envy in the picture, what you've done is you've taken yourself and you've put yourself on that Goodwill rack. on the sales version of it that people are trying to get out the door so they can bring in new merchandise that others might want more. Don't put yourself on the sales rack. Your life is just as perfect as anybody else's life. It doesn't matter if you have your own home, if you're in your case, you've come back home to your family. I've done that a couple of times myself. And yes, it feels a little cramped. You feel like you're back into school age, probably.
Yes.
But at
Right
the
now,
same
my
time,
studio is my living room.
you have to look at it and say, I'm in a cocoon now, though. This is your turn to thrive because you have no other obligations but to do that. So don't discount the situation you put yourself in because guess what? It's where you're supposed to be, all of us. When I picked out my house, I was looking around and there was bigger ones, smaller ones, big yards, small yards, and I had to really think to myself, what do I want? First thing I thought is I want these big houses, and I'm walking through and I'm like, who's going to pay the electric here? And who's going to clean it? I'm not going to do that, but I will get on a tractor and mow the yard, because it's like doing doom buggies or four-wheelers in my yard. So, okay, I can do that. So I went, and then it's only me and my husband. So it's not like we needed five bedrooms, So, I had to think about what is authentic to what I want. But guess what? I really do enjoy. I enjoy parks. I enjoy, wildlife. And so I got the bigger yard. I've got 3 acres where I can see
Wow.
the deer walk through. I can see the possum coming waddling out and acting like nobody sees them. I can see the coyote walking through and trying to be sly. And I actually watched a hawk this year grooming his prey all summer before he started hunting in our yard because he would sit and eat with them. And
Wow.
so it's like I had my own forest, and that's what brought healing for me for that after the pandemic because I was able to still see life without always seeing depression.
You're the therapy I never knew I needed. What is your heart's greatest wish, Rhonda?
My heart's greatest risk? Wish. Oh, I would love it never to be broken again. But, that's not realistic. And when I say I'm not talking from a love broken, when you lose loved ones, any sort, it's a pain that's different each time with each different relationship. But for me, I know that's the cycle of life. So I guess I would really have to say that I would want as my greatest wish for my heart that 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 life would soar and people would be kind and have compassion and empathy, and we could all just quit all this noise that brings negativity into the world.
Emotional. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
I've given you 2 of them, which is if it's meant to be, it's up to me, and make every day great. But another one that my mom always told me, and I think it's real important for women, and men too, because we all have our own life, experiences. But she would always say, make sure you have money in pocket, keys in hand, and gas in car. And you might say, well, that's kind of an odd thing to teach your children. But really, it's not. It's a model for autonomy and independence. If you never have to rely on others, it doesn't mean you don't need, want, desire others, but you're not reliant on their success or their ability to meet your needs. You're meeting your own needs. Then you can have a healthy, equal relationship connection with both life and individual.
Yeah. Is there anything that keeps you up at night, or do you sleep well?
I sleep pretty good most of the time. I have to admit it. I love my sleep at night. And once my head hits that pillow, it's like I'll be walking around and doing things, and all of a sudden it's like, huh, I think it's bedtime. But the things that bother me or that wake me up sometimes is when I feel like I have not fulfilled my obligation of whatever it might be. Whether it be I feel somebody's pain and heartache, and maybe I feel like the conversation that I tried to have with them didn't help. So I really like to try, if I could heal the world, I would, whether it be a loved one or a stranger. But I've also had to realize sometimes you have to allow people to go through their own pain. And that keeps me up more than anything when I know all you have to do is and it's solved, but you know that they're not open to what you're getting ready to say.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to let them make that mistake because you've already been there. Then that keeps me up because I'm like, oh, I know that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt them when they realize that all they had to do was but they chose not to do because you can't make the person do the right thing that's best for them.
Yeah, you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make the horse drink the water.
Right.
Or was it? Is that the
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
Okay, Rhonda, if you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Find the hope in the darkness and shed your light in someone else's darkness.
Wow. I had chills and I had this feeling in my, I had butterflies in my stomach. Thank you, Rhonda. How can people reach out to you and get your books?
Okay, so I try to make it easy. My name's on the screen, Rhonda Parker Taylor. My website's Rhonda Parker Taylor. My social media is Rhonda Parker Taylor. I'm Rhonda Parker Taylor.
Yes, guys, she's
Same
Rhonda
thing on
Parker Taylor.
Amazon. I know in Malaysia it does have Amazon, so that would be where
We do. Yeah,
yeah,
we just need
yeah,
to wait. We don't have Amazon here in Malaysia. I don't think so, but we can order
right.
direct from the States.
Right. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any of those major books a zillion or million, I think it is. It's on all of their websites, and it can be delivered in Malaysia, in the United States, same thing. All the major blockbusters. And here again, if it's meant to be, it's up to you. Go ahead and go out there and get your purpose.
And there you have it, everyone. You've just heard an inspiring journey and incredible wisdom. Thank you for sharing the work you're doing to uplift others and make a lasting impact. Despite the challenges, you're paving the way for others, and your dedication is a true testament to resilience and purpose. This has been another thought provoking episode of You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. If you've ever felt worthless, know this: you're not alone. But here's the deeper truth: if you were truly worthless, why would your soul choose to be here, in this exact moment, in this lifetime? Your soul traveled from the infinite, not just to exist, but to matter. And for that reason alone, you are worthy. And with that, I'd like to thank Rhonda Parker Taylor for joining us today, and to all of you for listening. Until next time, I'm Nick Nyaras, your host. Keep shining, keep growing, and remember, you are worthy and you are enough. See you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rhonda, for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.